Hey, I'm Jeff Perkins. These are the Soundstripe Sessions. This is a podcast about the space between inspiration and execution. That's where the real story lives. We sit down with world-class creators and storytellers to unpack the craft, the creative decisions, the roadblocks, and the breakthroughs that shaped their best work. For anyone who makes things and wants to make them better. Hey everyone, today our guest is Scott Welch. Scott is one of the most accomplished managers probably in the history of the music business. He's worked with Alanis, Morissette, Paula Abdul, Steve Perry, LeAnn Rimes, CNC Music Factory, and Collective Soul, just to name a few. Beyond artist management, he had a front row seat to one of the biggest early IPOs with MP3.com. He was also an early investor in StubHub. And today he advises music companies, including Soundstripe. So we are very happy to welcome Scott to the Soundstripe session. Scott, good to see you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And I'll send you the $20 for the intro later.
There you go. So Scott, you've had this like storied career. People could go online and Google you. I mean, it's really amazing to see what you've done. But I want to get to your origin story to start. Tell us a little bit about where you grew up and how you first got into the music business.
My dad was military, so Air Force. We moved all over the world. I was born in Germany. I think we moved 8 times before high school. And so you just got used to being able to make friends quickly because your dad would come home and go, "Hey, we're moving." I just got friends here. What do you mean we're moving? And so he moved to California in the 70s because I'm old as dirt. And we lived outside of San Francisco. So I started to go to a lot of shows in San Francisco in the 70s. All the bands played there. And I kind of he was flying overseas to Japan. And so he brought back, I had like the first component stereo in the neighborhood, like a Pioneer receiver, turntable. And music was always played at our house. My dad played, stuff like Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass and Dionne Warwick. And so I kind of just got that from him a little bit, I think.
Who are some of those early bands that you went to see in San Francisco?
Jefferson Airplane, the Doobie Brothers, Tower of Power, Santana, Country Joe and the Fish, Quicksilver Messenger Service. I mean, a lot of those early bands. Greg Kihn, Journey.
Yeah. Where'd you go see them? Which were the main venues you went to?
A place called the Cow Palace, which had that name. It was a big arena that they did rodeos in, and the Fillmore, which is still alive today. And there were several Great American Music Halls, several clubs throughout the San Francisco area. Bill Graham was big promoter then in those days. So, we go down, sit in line to get in because those shows were all general admission, smoke a little weed, if we could convince some guy at the liquor store to go in and buy us a 6-pack if we'd buy his, and we just went at it that way. So
amazing. And at what point did it become something you saw yourself making a career in, music? Because, a lot of people love music, but people don't think, hey, I could make a job out of this.
Yeah, I was student body president in high school, and part of your thing was you had to go sit on the entertainment committee. In those days, we didn't have DJs, we had bands. So you'd go to listen to some band play in the garage, and I felt that was fun. And I decided at some point in time I was going to go to law school and be an entertainment lawyer. And I did the first 6 months, and I hated it, and I dropped out. I go, this is going to be terrible. So I got my union stagehand card, and I was unloading trucks at shows and learning that side of it, and working in a recording studio at night, and I had a booking agency, and I was mixing live sound and just hustling all the time. Then finally got a job as a production manager and went on the road.
Yeah. That was your first break, production manager?
Yeah.
Okay. Who were you on the road with?
A band called Y&T, and then a band called Faster Pussycat, Dokken, Van Halen, Metallica. And then I went up to tour manager and learned that side of it. I started driving the merch truck first. That's the first gig I had.
Oh, the merch truck.
Yeah, I drove the merch truck at night after the shows. I'd sell merch at the shows, and then we'd drive all night. Me and another guy, just lots of coffee and speed, and we'd drive all night to the next show.
So from the first time you got on tour to being actually the tour manager, how long did that take? What was that career
About
journey
3
like?
years.
About
3 years.
So how old were you at that point when you became a tour manager?
26, I think.
Wow.
About 26, something
I mean,
like that.
You're working with big bands. It's a big responsibility, and you're 26 and you're managing probably a pretty big crew of people, right?
Yeah, I liked, tour manager is nothing but problem solving. That's all you do all day. And I enjoyed that part of it. And, I still today, if I go a show like 3 minutes before the 8 o'clock and the lights go down, I'm still all buzzing, ready to go, It still has magic for me.
Yeah. So you talk about then you started managing artists. How did you make that transition from the tour manager to artist management?
I realized I didn't want to be on the road forever, and I was looking at the settlement sheets every night. I go, managers are making a lot of money and doing well. So I had been working with a band that had a business manager, and him and I became close. He liked me, and he mentored me. And I said, if you ever hear about a management opportunity, I want to come off the road. And so he called me one day and he goes, I have a client. She's kind of a pop star, and these two guys, their management company, are just record promotion guys. They don't know anything about touring. Would you be willing to go on the team and help? And I go, yeah. And it was Paul Abdul. And so that was my first I did all the day-to-day work on Paula, like, touring, any interviews, on the road with her, all that time. And then she fired them, and I learned a really good lesson why the two guys got fired is that you always tell the artist the truth. And even if it hurts you, you have to tell them the truth, because if you don't, it will come back and bite you. And so she was going to be on the MTV Awards, and we had rehearsal. She came to rehearsal. She had a dress. She looked like shit in the dress. It was not flattering. And they didn't want to tell her. I go, because she's going to be upset. I go, you better tell her. And I couldn't tell her because it wasn't my position. They were the managers. I was the day-to-day. And sure enough, the dress didn't look good. She caught some heat, and she fired him. And then she said, I'm not sure you're ready to manage me. I'm going to go find a manager. Would you come if it worked out? And I go, yeah. So that's kind of how it moved to the next step.
I vividly remember that MTV Video Awards because she did catch a lot of heat for it. It just wasn't the best look for her. And
no. And because she's got, her body, I don't mean this, but she's a dancer. They just didn't, they didn't dress her correctly.
Yeah. Oh, it's amazing. And so then you went on, you stayed with her though through, that was in her heyday, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And I was really, you have that moment where someone steps in your life and changes it. And mine happened to be a guy named Bob Cavallo. Bob had managed Earth, Wind, and Fire from like day one. He managed Prince through all the Purple Rain years. And when I met him, Prince had fired him. Everybody gets fired from Prince at some point in time. And Bob had taken a year off and he was playing golf, and Paul had met him, and I liked him. And he said, I think I'm going to get back and start a management company. You want to come on board? I go, yeah. So we did that. And from that, with Bob in tow, we signed Green Day, Goo Goo Dolls. We had Earth, Wind, and Fire. I found Alanis. I signed Steve Perry from Journey. We had Collective Soul, and the company just took off from there.
Yeah, what a roster. I want to talk a little bit about Alanis, because that was in the early 90s. Tell me that story. How did you get connected with her?
Because we were managing Paula Abdul, her music publisher and I became friends. And he's Canadian. And he goes, we have this girl that we signed to our publishing company, but we also made a record on her. The publishing side made a record, and it was successful in Canada. She won a Best New Artist Juno Award. And he goes, I want to get the records released in America. Would you meet her? I go, yeah. So I met her, and we just hit it off. She was 18, I think, at the time. And I went back to him and I go, dude, you got no shot. We got Paula Abdul, we got Janet Jackson, we got Toni Braxton, we got all these females. The songs are not urban enough to get on radio in America, what was happening with pop, but there's something about her. I don't know what it was, that just something about her. I go, look, she was living in Ottawa. Let's move her to Toronto, put her in an apartment, and let her start writing songs. And that's what we did. She'd come to LA, sleep on my couch, write with writers, and all of a sudden she wrote with Glenn Ballard, who was a producer, and she wrote a couple times. She went home, came back, and he goes, look, there's something about, I've got a studio. We're just going to make a record. I don't care if she has a deal at this point in time, which in those days was pretty much unheard of. And Glenn had produced Man in the Mirror for Michael Jackson and some Aerosmith stuff. He had a really unique resume, and they just hit it off. And so they'd go to lunch, talk, go write a song, and then he would call in. A lot of the guys that played on that first Alanis record are from Tom Petty's band. He'd just go call people in, and they'd stay up all night, finish the record. She'd sing it. Next morning, there'd be a new song, and that's kind of how the record was made.
Did you know when you were working on it that you kind of had something really special?
There was a moment, have that moment. We went to every record company. Everybody turned us down first time around. And we went to Virgin Records, and she played them Hand in My Pocket and Ironic. And the guy goes, that's pretty good. Have you got anything else? She goes, well, we finished something. I hadn't heard it yet. And it's out in the car. She looks at me, and the lawyer's in the room with me. She goes, you okay if I play this? I go, sure. And it was You Ought to Know. And she played it, and I went, holy fuck, that was the one. And the guy goes, do you have anything else like that? I go, we got to go. If you don't hear this, we are not at the right place. So, and we went to Atlantic, and Atlantic said, we like this, but we've got Jewel and these other girls. You're just going to have to wait. I go, no, this has to come out now. It's in the moment. It has to come out now. So we were fortunate enough to get hooked up with Madonna's label. Freddie Demand, who was Madonna's manager, I think he had vision, and he saw it, and he goes, I love this. Can she play live? I go, I don't have a band yet. I'll tell you what, come to the studio. I'll put the mic up and you can hear her singing. He was blown away, and him and I went out in the hall and just structured out a deal on a piece of paper, and then we had the lawyer draw it up.
Yeah. When you released that album, did you think it would be as big as it was? I mean, it's just an iconic album. I mean, 30 years later, people still talking about it.
I think we're at almost 40 million copies worldwide now. It was weird. K-Rock, which was the big alternative station in LA at that time. Kevin Weatherly was the program director, and we had put the song on I don't know if you know what Hits magazine, it's a rag, and they had an insert, and and we bought a spot, and Kevin Weatherly called me up, and he goes, hey, Scott, are you managing Alanis? I heard. I go, yeah. And he goes, we're putting that song on the radio tonight. I go, no, we're not ready. We don't have anything planned. He goes, I'm putting it on. He put it on. He goes, the phones just blew up, and it just came out like a rocket ship.
Yeah. That's You Ought to Know.
Yeah. And I was really fortunate. There was a guy at Warner Brothers who ran International who got it, and he took her and two guitar players. In those days, Warner's was broken up into countries. There was Warner Italy, Warner Germany, Warner Portugal, And we just did a road trip and everyone fell in love with her. So when the record came out, it was busting out all over the world. We did 380 shows in a year and a half. It's a lot. All over the world. Radio shows, television. It was crazy.
380 shows in a year and a half.
Yeah. Yeah. Either on we were either on television or a radio show or a concert date. The record is gold and platinum in every country in the world. I'm pretty proud of that.
As the manager, because especially in that era, it seemed like there was this tendency to just tour like crazy or just on the road like crazy. If you watch like the Bon Jovi documentary between Slippery When Wet and New Jersey and those albums, they were almost played every single night for like 4 years. And as the manager, is that the game? Was that the game you had to?
A little bit. And also the demand. I mean, literally, we'd fly to South America, and from South America, I'd fly to Europe. We'd do Europe. From Europe, I'd fly back to America. Then we'd go to Japan. I mean, it was just constant like that because everybody wanted her. And I told her, I go, this is going to be hell, but if you do this, you'll be able to work the rest of your life because I don't know if you're going to have another hit record. Who knows? You just don't know. It's awful hard to follow that record.
Is that the thinking? You're like, we've struck gold and we have to maximize this right now because you're like you said, you don't know if the next record and the one after is going to be anything close to what you were able to create.
No, and you could, you can put away this money that even if you're an artist and you have money, you have creative freedom. That's the secret, right? Record company can't tell you what to do because you go like, I don't need your bullshit. I got money. I'll put it out, So.
Now, as a manager, I imagine you're constantly looking at acts. You're constantly looking at super talented people.
Right.
But how do you know? I mean, that's the thing that always amazes me with guys like you. It's like the ability to find that needle in the haystack and say, oh, I see something in this person and you're right. I mean, how do you kind of tune that kind of sensibility as a manager?
Well, first off, so I was managing No Doubt and Alanis at the same time, and No Doubt was starting to break. And I just told No Doubt, you need to find someone else. I can't do both. I just didn't feel I could really give them the kind of support they needed to have because Alanis, it was so big, and she was so young. I was not letting her go out on the road unless I was going. She hardly went anywhere that I didn't go. Also because her parents had asked me to take care of her, and also I knew people would get in her ear and tell her, all kind of shit, try to do a better job than I could do. That's the way the business works. Everybody's trying to get your act if they can. So I don't know. You just know. I wish I could bottle it, but I can't. I mean, just the way she treated the people and the way people acted around her, you could see she was something special. I had no idea it was going to do what it did, but there was something special. And maybe I was also too naive to know any better. I was young. It was my first thing that was really mine after CNC Music Factory that I found and I signed, and so maybe that was it. And it came out of the box really fast. We didn't build up to it. It went from 0 to 60 in the first 6 weeks.
Yeah. Now, on the flip side, did you have certain artists that you've worked with that you thought were going to have that big breakthrough and just didn't?
Yeah, I'm not going to name names, but, my mentor taught me something. He goes, you can lead them to water, but you can't stop them from jumping in and drowning. And there are a lot of times when I said, hey, dude, there's a train coming down the track. You're going to get hit. Get off the track. He get hit. The person gets hit, and then they blame you for it, Or you have to find, in those days, you had to find a balance between appeasing the record company and keeping your values and what your art was about. There's a tricky balance there, right? If you don't want to work as an artist besides making music, you will fail. That's just the facts. You got to be willing to get up in the morning, go do, in those days, do morning radio, get up at 4 a.m. to be on the morning, the morning shows. And she was not afraid of work, and she was young too. So made it a lot easier.
Yeah. It's that, it's that hustle. It's the talent gets you to a certain place, and then it's the hustle that gets you to that next level.
And there's some artists who don't have as much talent, but they hustle so hard they're successful. And then there's some that have tons of talent and they throw it away.
So after Alanis, I'm sure you were probably in major demand as the guy who broke this major star. What did you do next? What was your next big thing after Alanis?
Well, we decided Bob had a partner that was making feature films at the same time. And so we decided, we went in to raise some capital, and we merged our music management film division with the company that was managing comedic talent. So we had Jim Carrey, Ellen DeGeneres, Will Ferrell, the girls from Sex and the City, and we put that company together called Mosaic. And so I was managing Ellen DeGeneres on the comedian side, helping with that, doing her tour, because none of all the comedian guys didn't have a lot of experience during touring. So that kind of fell in my lap also.
Yeah, a long time ago, I worked in a comedy club. It was actually when I was in college, and comedians were a very interesting breed because they're on stage. You think they're life of the party, funniest people you've ever seen, and then you get backstage with them, and they're kind of dark and brooding, and it's a very different person that you would see kind of off stage than on stage.
Yeah, I'm so impressed with that process, to be able to go up there, refine that material. The memory, a part of it alone amazes me, because I couldn't remember, some of it does an hour. You see like Chappelle or one of these guys get up there for an hour and just go, holy shit, that's so good. And the timing and the way they lay a story out, I think is really fascinating.
Yeah, you look at it and you probably take for granted that they have done that same bit probably hundreds of times before. And you're right, the timing, and they've done that bit in front of probably large audience. They've done it probably in front of like 5 drunk guys, at late night at the Comedy Cellar. It takes it's the craft. It's working on your craft.
Yeah. And I got to a point, my wife's from Baltimore, and I just didn't like working in a big company, and I'd signed a country act, and we'd moved up. We did own a publishing company. It was based in Nashville. So I said, I think I'm going to move to Nashville. And the partners were okay with that. And then I decided, you know what? I think I want to go out on my own. So I sold my part of the management company. And I had just started working with the guys in StubHub at that time. And I go, well, this is interesting and fun. And so that's kind of how I made the change and come here. And I also wanted to raise my kids somewhere. I love Los Angeles. We go every summer to the beach, but I wanted more space, and, you didn't have to set a play date. We lived out on the lake. My son could go fish after school, and we had a boat, and it was just a better family lifestyle than LA.
Yeah, that's great. It's your career is fascinating to me because you were in kind of the trenches of music management. Yeah. And then you went to StubHub. And at the time when you joined up, or you were advising StubHub, did you see the potential? Did you think that was going to be as big as it is today?
Well, it was weird. Alanis had come, she said to me, how come in the front row of the show, I see a bunch of people that aren't true fans? I go, because the tickets get scalped ahead of time. So the reason I did it, I go, why don't we pull all the front row seats, we'll put them through StubHub, and you donate the money in every city to a charity of your choice. And so that's how the StubHub thing got started. And I started to realize that this is the world we're going to get to. And these guys were so smart. They were both Stanford grads. They'd figured it out. And so that's kind of how I got into it. I've kind of taken this approach. I started realizing, like, I take meetings with everybody. Anybody want to go have coffee? I'll go talk to them, because you just never know how it's going to end out. You just don't know. Sometimes it's nothing, and then sometimes 2 years later, somebody calls you about something that interests you. I just do things that interest me, and even if I don't know what the hell I'm doing, there's a shoe company that's getting ready to launch. I may work with them some because I'm fascinated by what they're doing. So I don't know.
How do you get connected to everybody? I mean, how did you meet the StubHub guys? Your career seems like it's a bit of like really hard work, but also right place, right time, a lot of networking. Talk a little bit about that.
Kind of my doors always open kind of vibe. They wanted to get someone to help in the music business, and I guess everybody turned them down, and they called my office, and my assistant goes, "These two guys from Stanford got idea." I go, "Yeah, book them. I'll have lunch with them." And that's how it started.
That's great. How did you get in touch with the Soundstripe guys? Tell me that story.
Yeah, I was managing a band called. I moved here. I got a younger partner to help do a lot of the work, and Trevor was in a band called Viridia. He was the guitar player, and I thought he was. And I noticed on the road all the time he was always on his laptop. He goes, "I've got this idea with two of my buddies," and then he came to me and he goes, "Look, I think I'm going to get off the road and do this." I go, "Well, go, man. Go. I'm sorry you're leaving us, because you're a great musician and a great person to have in a band." His personality, everything, and his talent. And I ran into him in a coffee shop one day, and he goes, "Why don't you come hear what we're doing? See what we're doing?" So I met Travis and Micah, and I kind of just like to hang out for 4 or 5 months and get to know people. Because, I kind of have this motto: get knocked down 7 times, get up 8. And, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you're going to get your ass kicked lots of times. Can you get back up? I also want to see how you treat other people. We'll go have dinner, how you treat the wait staff. I also like to know about your background, your family's background. Why are you doing this? And we just started, none of us knew exactly what we were doing, but, I helped them raise the first couple rounds of cash, and tried to, when they'd have spiffs and spats, I'd try to get in and referee a little bit, and just, manage, same skills as managing an artist, really. And those guys have such great souls also, and that was another thing that attracted. I'm really, after being a tour manager and putting up with assholes, I really have my life surrounded by people of quality.
Something that you just said there really resonated with me, that you go to a restaurant with the people and then you observe how they treat the wait staff.
Yeah. Tells you a lot about people.
Yeah, well, it also says a lot about the people you want to work with, right? You want to work with people who are kind, who are good to other people, right?
Yeah, because when you get into the foxhole and shit starts getting rough, you need someone who's got ethical, moral, has character. I drive my wife crazy. We go out to dinner. If we sit at the bar, I'm talking to the person next to me. I'm talking to the bartender. It's funny. I went to an event the other night, and I started talking to a guy, and I'd never met him, and we're probably going to do some business together on a project just because I started talking to him. I mean, I don't know why people are afraid to talk to people. I really don't understand that. I think we're raising a whole generation of people who are afraid to talk to people. That's my old man comment for the program.
No, but it's the perfect lesson. It's if yeah, I mean, I feel the same way in my career. My career has been built by my network and just getting to know a lot of different people. And, what led me to Soundstripe was, I knew an investor from who in Soundstripe who I worked with at a previous company years ago, and we've just kept in touch over the years. And but he was a great person, and yeah, it's just building that network and trying to find people out there that you want to work with and that you want to do business with and that you like to work with, right? I mean, the most important thing in business is surrounding yourself with people that you like, because you got to spend a lot of time with them.
Yeah. And also, I'm a big believer in when I go into any sort of meeting, I don't go in wanting anything. I just want to meet the person, see what they're about, and then kind of see what happens. So,
yeah. So I want to talk about the mp3.com experience, because you were there at sort of that was the early IPO.com boom days. Talk about, how'd you get involved in that, and talk about that experience?
I forget, someone introduced, like I said, I talked to everybody. Somebody introduced me to Michael, and I went down to San Diego, and he was crazy, but like creative crazy. And I go, what he was doing was so revolutionary. I go, I'm fascinated by this. And so I said, why don't you sponsor Alanis' tour, and we'll put your stuff on everything, and you can have set up at shows. You can show people how it works with a record label about how to stroke. I said, you guys should get out of LA and drive down and buy half this guy's fucking business. And, Michael was a little too much like F the record companies. And I kept telling him, you need to work with them a little bit. And so he got in trouble because he created a locker. So if you bought a record on, let's say, Amazon, and while you were waiting for it to be shipped, he would drop it in a locker. And the record company goes, oh no, that's 2 copies. So you got to pay mechanicals on both. And he goes, fuck you, I'm not going to do that. And, he lost in court after a year after the IPO. And, couldn't get the rest of the company off the ground after that. He was his own worst enemy, but he was so smart. Guy could see it coming. And he was right. I mean, you look at where we are now. He saw it.
Yeah, because that was probably, you would say that was the first iteration of Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes,
yes,
everything,
it
right?
Was. Yeah. Sometimes the first innovators get slaughtered.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, but that was I remember that IPO. That was quite a debut that first day.
And here's the worst part about that whole thing. We had some stock we sell. We also had restricted stock. And 5 days before the restrictions got lifted, the verdict came down on the course gate. So the stock went from like about $100 a share to about $10 a share. It's the way it goes, man. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose.
Can't win them all.
No, man. Not at all.
So Scott, you think about when you started in the music industry and then where we are today. I mean, how do you advise young artists today what they have to do and to break through?
Yeah. So for me, I pretty much would never manage an act again. I'm past. I just don't want to do them. But I talk to people all the time. The only thing you have as an artist is direct to consumer. That's it. Build a fan step by step. Put music out. I have a company called Single, which is an app that you put in your Shopify store that will allow you to do anything direct to consumer. We have every major label uses it now, and just build, if you have 1,000 fans, it'll give you $100 a year. You're making a living. There's no money in streaming unless you're Sabrina Carpenter or somebody like that. It's only in ticketing, merch, and monetizing your fans. I don't think there's any other way. If you get lucky and you get in a film or you have a quote, whatever radio hit is these days, that's great. But chances are there's a lot of artists who are making a living that you just don't really know that well because they found that niche of fans that likes them.
Yeah, how do you advise them to build that fan base? I mean, what did they do? What are some of the steps they need to take to build out, a follower base?
Put lots of music out and play live. Go play somewhere. If 10 people show up, next time, hopefully 15 people show up, and just build it hand to hand. If you do that, that's what the jam bands did, and they all have careers. You think of some of those jam bands that never had a radio hit ever. They've just built a following. I tell artists, like every day, if you're a guitar player, I was fortunate. I got to work with Eddie Van Halen. And every time I saw Eddie, he always had his guitar in his hand. He is on the bus, he had a guitar in his lap. If he's in a radio interview, he took his guitar. If he's, on the bus, because he practiced and practiced. That's why he was so phenomenal. And I think there are too many people who get caught up in the stardom. I want likes on my Instagram page. That's really not what it's about, for me anyway.
Yeah, it's got to be, from your view, just such a different world though today, and what artists have to do to break through than it was, when you were coming up with Alanis. I mean, when Alanis was coming up, there was no Facebook, there was no Instagram, there was no platform like that to kind of manage a follower base.
No. Yeah, it was difficult in that sense. All you had was SoundScan, but all right, I sold 10,000 units in New York. I don't know who these people are. I don't know. I have no way to know who they are,
Let's talk about the hot topic right now, which is AI and music. Give me your thoughts there. It's like every day I get, 10 different stories in my newsfeed about, AI and music. It's great. It's terrible. It's the end of music. It's the end of artists. It's helping artists. As a guy who's, made his career in this industry, I mean, how do you view what's happening with tools like Suno and Udio, and how do you feel about it?
Well, it's typical of technology. Technology just will push and push till you stop them. So the record companies, at least now, are a little more aggressive. The only thing I would say about it, I hate the fact that all these platforms are being constructed on copyrighted material that creators are not getting paid for.
That's we think about that a lot. I mean, that's because that's how they built these models. They essentially stole the IP to build the models for these tools. My hope is in the coming year, there's more guardrails though, where, okay, if you've trained on Alanis, if you've trained on Katy Perry or the Grateful Dead, you have to, just like if you use that music in a commercial project, you have to pay a royalty. You have to pay something to them. If you play it on the radio, if you stream it, you have to pay the artist. Those platforms have to figure out how to pay artists that they're building their platforms on.
They'll get something. They'll pay an artist a penny. That's what'll happen. It won't be, and that's again why, if you're an artist, direct to consumer, have your own following, have your own community that you manage and monetize. I mean, here's the reality: your kid, my kids, my grandkids, they're not going to care whether it's an AI song or Katy Perry made it. If they like it, they like it. So. I think that is coming full speed ahead. I mean, how many songs are being uploaded every day? I mean, Soundstripe has to fight that. How many AI songs are being up every day? Hundreds. Thousands, I should say.
Yeah, thousands, millions. Yeah. I'm encouraged that I think some of the platforms are creating tools to limit it, track it at least, or I think it should be identified if it's an AI song versus
I
a
agree.
human-made song, and this should be a kind of a warning label, right? But for the artists that are coming up, in some ways it does create opportunity. There's an article in Billboard about how a lot of artists are using these tools creatively and conceptually to help build songs, but then they go back in the studio and they record on real instruments, each stem the way it should sound. But
it's probably great for working on demos,
and probably also democratizes some of for a lot of artists, they couldn't afford to go into a studio, and now they have something that they could potentially work with that'll give them something that they could at least get started on.
Agreed.
All right, Scott, this is the last question for you. I asked this to all the guests, but if you can go back and give 18-year-old Scott Welch, starting out in the music industry, one piece of advice, what would that be?
Go to medical school. No, I'm just teasing. I think focus on being curious and focus on building relationships.
That's it there. That really is the perfect advice and encapsulates your success, in that you're someone who has built tons of relationships, been a great networker, and that has really served you well at each point in your career. So, Scott, if people want to get in touch with you, how could they?
I'll give them my email address. I'm fine. Email me, scott@swelchmgt.com.
Amazing. And like Scott said, he likes to have meetings, and he will go and have coffee with you, but you better treat the barista well if you're with Scott.
That's right.
All right. So Scott, thank you so much. This has been an amazing conversation. I've learned a lot. It's been great to hear your journey, and thanks again for joining us. If you like this episode, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube page and follow us on your favorite podcast platform. And we will see you at the next Soundstripe session.
Everybody subscribe to Soundstripe.
Thank you, Scott. Soundstripe is the leading music licensing platform, offering the highest quality music produced by award-winning artists and innovative tools to find the perfect song for your project. Soundstripe has over 100,000 audio tracks, along with sound effects and video assets. We provide comprehensive licensing coverage, whether it's a broadcast TV spot, social media video, or podcast. Soundstripe helps turn an average video into an unforgettable story. Learn more and sign up for a free account at soundstripe.com.